I was 17 the first time I heard her play. When I first heard the sound, I thought it was a he, the boy I'd watched zip and unzip his cello case as I sat outside the music room listening, imagining the thickness of his growing teenage hands create a vibrato on the strong metal strings. I imagined he looked the way he did when I watched him from the back of the high school orchestra as I sat behind my harp laced with strings made out of cat guts, pretending to have written my own harmony. But today, try as I may, I cannot remember a note I played, only the way his trapezius flexed, drawing back his bow, the crooked angle of his teeth when he smiled at me. So I drew these images in my mind as I listened to the music, closing my eyes as I slid my back down the whitewashed wall, following the luxurious notes to their finish. I waited for him to emerge after the sound had stopped, but it was a she who greeted my sexual smile, the cello copying the curves of her hips. I changed my look of sexual allure to a red shade of embarrassment and told her I knew the song she had been playing. I didn't tell her the sound was so deep it nearly affected my bones. From then on, while I sat in the back of the orchestra, pretending to play my harp with simple random chords here and there, I strained my ears to single out her instrument. I filtered my perception of notes and struggled to hear past the glinting of his teeth as he smiled back at me, and past the cracking of his shoulder as he flexed his trapezius. Then there it was, the simple, trembling note of her cello, playing a harmony to his untalented melody. She wavered up and down, her bow moving across the strings steadily like a wave laps at the surface of the sand. The fingers guiding the bow were loose, and her knuckles angled upwards ever so slightly towards the cracking, water-damaged ceiling. I expected one who created such a sound to be gripping their instrument tightly, hanging onto a sound that might escape them, but it floated in her lap, suspended on an end pin which dug itself into the rug, the end pin which seemed to be drawing energy from beneath it to keep the wood alive. The neck of the cello rested on her neck, and she held it with her left hand, controlling which notes reverberated with her fingertips on chosen strings. The circular pegs at the top twirled with her hair, ending in a scroll which seemed to wrap up the notes neatly and feed them back towards the bottom, keeping the sound contained. I could nearly see the sound waves emanating from it, hitting the other cellos and bouncing back to her. The other cellists, who gripped their bows tightly, with no relationship to the floor or the ceiling. I thought it would only be there, in that cramped music room, pushed away from other rooms, that her sound was magnified, but the sound had little to do with the presence of others. Even away from his glistening teeth, she succeeded in her brilliance. Without a floor to absorb from, without a roof to contain her, the notes she drew from the strings existed on their own. Vibrating sound balanced on atmospheric waves and separated the air particles to deliver itself to me. The sound frequency in the air became pressurized as the sound waves bounced between my ear and the instrument more quickly, causing the sound to become louder. And it was all that filled my head.